What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Mind's Eye Status podcast, a communication podcast for those who want to develop an executive presence. I have no intro music for you today, so I will get right into it. What we're doing today is answering questions on Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram already, what are you doing? Shaka T. Lockman. Let's go. I haven't even looked at the questions, so we're totally free for alling right now. First question is, first step for a people pleaser to improve in communication more authentically? That is a really great question. What's the first step for a people pleaser to be more authentic? You kind of hit the nail on the head with the question there, because people pleasing is actually the opposite of being authentic. It is sacrificing your beliefs, your opinions, and your communication style simply because you don't want to either create conflict, hurt somebody's feelings, or get on somebody's bad side. So you stay silent, and that eats you up inside. So the first step that I would give anybody for overcoming people pleasing is practice speaking your mind in low risk environments. For example, if you regularly have board meetings or large team meetings, maybe that's not the best place to practice because the stakes are usually higher. But imagine you go out with a group of friends or even with family, and normally you're super agreeable, and people pleasers are normally very agreeable. Train yourself to disagree when you genuinely disagree with somebody. Don't just disagree for the sake of it. For example, it can be something as simple as an opinion about a movie. If somebody brings up a movie that you think is boring. For example, I recently watched the movie The Prestige with Christian Bale and that Australian guy. Anyway, this movie has really good ratings online. A lot of my friends enjoy this movie. I watched it on the airplane on the way back to Dubai recently, and I got so bored of this movie. I thought it was way too dramatic for a story about two magicians trying to figure out each other's magic tricks, to be honest. So if that movie comes up in conversation with my friends, I'm going to say I thought that movie was extremely boring. And I'm going to give my opinion about it, because that is a low risk maneuver. What you're doing is you're training the muscle of disagreeableness, which sounds like a negative thing, but it isn't. Many ultra successful, even wealthy executives, entrepreneurs, CEOs have the trait of disagreeableness because that is what helps them make the right decisions and be assertive as well. So when you're people pleasing, you're running the risk of not being assertive, not standing up for yourself, and compromising your authenticity, which in the question you said, how can I be more authentic? Well, it's by reducing your people pleasing. Another tip that I can give you is catch yourself when you either smile, nod, or laugh unnecessarily. Okay? I'm dropping some fire on you guys right now. This is very practical advice. So if you're enjoying this, rate this podcast 5 stars. It takes literally 10 seconds on Spotify. I really appreciate it. We don't have any sponsors. This is just free knowledge for you guys. So catch yourself if you're nodding, smiling. A lot of people pleasers, you can tell they're people pleasing because they nod way too much, or they laugh and smile when something isn't genuinely funny, or they don't find it to be funny, yet they're laughing and smiling anyway. And this makes people walk all over you, by the way. So start practicing and training being disagreeable in those low risk environments, and catch yourself when your body language is showing those signs of reactivity. People pleasers are very reactive to their environment, socially speaking. So catch yourself when you're nodding or smiling and laughing unnecessarily. I hope that helps. Next question, that was from Manu Lofa. Next question from Mira Melad. How to not sound boring in my communication and how to be more assertive with others. Okay, you got two questions there, two good questions. First of all, how to not sound boring. Notice what I'm doing in this podcast. Even if you're not watching, if you are watching, you can tell I'm using my gestures and my facial expressions. But if you're listening to this, you might notice that my volume goes up, it goes down. My pace either speeds up when I'm making a point or it slows down. And even my tonality fluctuates up and down. Maybe I have a deeper voice at some point. Maybe my voice goes up a little bit while I'm getting a bit excited. That prevents you from sounding boring. Have range in your tonality. Do not be boring with a monotone. So that's how you can be more entertaining. This does wonders, by the way. Go try this. In your next conversation, add a little bit of music to your voice. Your voice is an instrument, right? It's an instrument, so use it that way. Experiment with it. One kind of funny exercise that I get my clients to do is sing in the morning as they're getting ready to go to work or to start their day. Because what you're doing when you're singing is you're actually training your voice to be warmed up. It warms up the vocal cords. So some vocal training is necessary as well if you want to improve this. We have free vocal training resources. So if you DM me vocal training or comment on any of my videos vocal training, it should prompt an automated message from my account to send you a free resource on that. So check that out. Next question was how to be more assertive with others. This is a very big subject. A lot of people have trouble being assertive because of people pleasing, as we touched on already, but also because they believe that being assertive, disagreeing with people, means conflict. So the first thing that I want to do is invite you to explore your mindset around assertiveness. Why is it that you struggle to be assertive? Genuinely, ask yourself. Ask yourself right now. You can pause this podcast. Why do I struggle with being assertive? Why do I people please? These are very good questions. Why? What you will find is you'll come to discover a fear, usually. There's a fear of conflict, a fear of not being liked, a fear of rejection. Once you uncover what that fear is, then you can reverse engineer it, and being assertive will become far easier. Because if you realize, okay, I'm afraid of being assertive because I'm afraid of rejection, well, then that means you need to work on your self-esteem. You need to work on your self-acceptance. If you have the fear of, let's say, being shut down or not being good enough, then you need to be easier on yourself. So you're reverse engineering it. And assertiveness is the same. The way to train the muscle of assertiveness is the same way that you would train my answer to the first question of eradicating people pleasing, because when you stop people pleasing, you will be more assertive. So practice in low stake environments first and catch yourself with those non-verbal cues. Hope that helps, Mira. Next question. Anurgo Charaudi says, my tongue slips while saying some words. They sound horrible. How do I improve this? That would also be with vocal training. So refer to that vocal training exercise that I mentioned. I like this question from Sophia Flame. How to be quick-witted in speech, but still eloquent? That's a great question because I love witty people. I love people that have a good sense of humor. I have noticed the more I write and the more I read, especially read, the wittier I become. If you can get into the habit of reading a lot, which is something I'm constantly improving and working on myself, you will find yourself articulating much more eloquently and being far wittier than you might expect. Because when you read, you're firing neurons in your brain, you're connecting new neurons, right? And reading is a form of communication. When you articulate, you are communicating. So it's a way of training yourself. It's no surprise that the people who are most articulate, people who have a strong vocabulary, are almost always great readers, very consistent readers. So that would be my advice. And in order to be quick-witted, I know you said quick-witted, not witty in particular, but if you want to be witty, you want to train the humor muscle as well. I know that's not specifically your question, but I do enjoy this subject as well. So don't be afraid to make comments that you think are funny. Find connections between random things that you think will be funny or interesting, and that'll make you more quick-witted. And being quick-witted in the sense of being just simply quick on your feet, again, that requires you to be very eloquent. You can do that through reading and writing, but also by being deeply present. I have noticed, and my clients know this for a fact, that the best practice to improve your communication skills is to master your presence and energy. It's the first module that I take all my clients through. It's called Presence and Energy. I teach them how to be grounded to the moment. I have many YouTube videos on this, by the way. Actually, with my new channel, there's a few. The last one that I posted at the time of this podcast is really, really good and solid on practical advice, so you can check that out as well. But be present to the moment. That'll make you quick-witted because you're not spending time and energy in your brain. How to give feedback from Piero Lauda. Good friend of mine, Piero. He's great. He says, how to give feedback, also saying this as our mutual friend Oscar said that he was impressed by how you gave me feedback. So I am very careful with giving feedback. A good rule of thumb is do not give unsolicited feedback ever, unless you ask for permission. So in this situation that he's referring to, I was out for cigars with some friends and I just met his mutual friend as well, Oscar, who he's referring to. And Piero mentioned that he wants to start a coaching business. And I've been running Mind's Eye Status for 6 years, very successfully globally, and we're doing well. Thank God. He's just starting, Piero. Before just giving him random unsolicited advice, I said, brother, are you open to some advice? Or I said something along those lines. I said, brother, do you mind if I give you some advice? He said, yes, of course. And then I gave him the advice, which he really appreciated. And that's a more charming way of giving your opinion, giving feedback, rather than just saying, you know what I think you should do? I think you should go down. I don't know why I sound like a cowboy, but you don't want to just give random unsolicited advice because it can hurt people's egos and it's actually damaging your own ego, because how do you know that they want to hear what you have to say? You don't want to do that. Don't do it. Okay? Okay. Thank you, Piero. All right. Lucas says, no questions, brother. Just enjoying the content. Thank you, my friend. Anonymous says, projecting your voice to fill a room. You want to do vocal training exercises. There's a few questions regarding this already. So guys, go to my Instagram, comment on any post, vocal training, and an automation should pop up on my DMs giving you a free training on this specifically. Those are the best questions that I've found so far. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I'll see you next week.